he knew that he had to show her that he knew. He had to reveal a little bit more of himself to this woman. And so in verse 17, very cleverly, she says, "I don't have a husband," she answered. And he said, "You have correctly said, I don't have a husband, for you've had 5. And as a matter of fact, the guy that you're with right now, he's also not your husband. What you have said is true." And so in verse 19, she says, "Sir," the woman replied, "I see that you are a prophet." I'm going to stop right there before I continue and read verse 20. So at this moment in time, she's now beginning to realize there's something different about this guy. Why is this weird Jewish man talking to me, asking me for something? Because, and I didn't say this at the time, but honestly, the Jews believed that the Samaritan people were unclean all the time. So if Jesus would have accepted anything from this woman, then he was willingly making himself ceremonially unclean because it was defiled by a Samaritan, right? And so she's like, "You've got this guy. He's sitting there. He asked me for something. Now he's talking about this living water, and I don't know if it's true or not, but if it is true, I think I kind of want that." And she's still not understanding. And so then Jesus reveals a little bit more about himself, right? And this woman is able to pick up on that, and she's like, "Okay, all right, I see how this is going to go. You're just another one of those uppity Jewish prophets. You're one of the teachers, you're one of the preachers, right? And you've come here just so you can make fun of me. You've come here so that you can show me how high and mighty you are, and you can remind me of just how pitiful and lowly I am." I would have to imagine that inside, that's what she's bracing for, because that's all she's ever known. That's all she's ever seen in her lifetime from the Jewish people, from the Jewish teachers and rabbis. All it was mockery and disgust and anger and disdain. So she's, "Okay, I see what's about to happen. You're trying to make me feel bad. You're just going to throw this in my face so that you and your little buddies can leave and y'all can continue to make fun of me as you go about your way." And so she says, "Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews say that the place to worship is in Jerusalem." Remember when I said we're really good at trying to get out of uncomfortable situations? Immediately, she tried to change the subject. She tried to catch Jesus off guard. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to explain something religious to somebody? You're trying to say something about Christianity, or you're trying to say something about Jesus, right? And maybe you finally feel like, "Oh man, that's a good point. Like, surely they'll understand this. Surely this is going to be that thing that's going to get them to change their life." And then they're like, "Yeah, but how do we even know if God is real because there's evil in the world?" And then all of a sudden you're like, I can't explain why there's so much evil. Like, I can't give a good enough reason or explanation, right? Or somebody's like, "Okay, yeah, but I mean, maybe you're right, but like, how is God 3 persons? Like, that doesn't even make sense. How can he be one God, but 3 different things," right? And so I don't know if you've ever encountered this. I've encountered it, but sometimes when you're talking about these things with people, they're really good at trying to ask you a bunch of questions that you cannot give the answer to. They're really good at trying to change the subject and take the shift and the focus away from them or their sin or what you're trying to get them to understand, and they begin to talk about all these other things to throw us off, to chase the rabbits, and they try to end up trapping us, right? So immediately she's like, "All right, he's a prophet. Yep, I know how this is going to go." And so she changes the subject, and she begins talking about one of the hottest debates in that time. Where is the correct place to worship? You Jews say it's in Jerusalem at the temple, but we Samaritans believe it's on Mount Gerizim. So we go there to worship, right? So which one of us is right? And so she begins to bring up this debate, thinking and hoping that it would trap Jesus and that he would get into this debate with her, and at the end of the day, there wouldn't be a winner. There wouldn't be a victor, because they would never be able to settle this. And Jesus is very, very clever. Jesus is probably the best ever at answering people's questions when they're trying to trap him, because he says in verse 21, he says, "Believe me, woman, an hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem." You see, Jesus is trying to keep it on what's important. He's trying to clear the air. He's trying to keep the focus on the most important thing. And he says, look, he doesn't just let it slide. He stands firm. He stands his ground, right? Because he says, you Samaritans worship what you do not know. Like, I'm not here to debate with you. Like, I'm not. That's not what we're doing. But at the end of the day, the Bible is clear that salvation comes from the Jews. And so he addresses that very quickly, but he doesn't camp there. He doesn't stay there. He says, y'all worship what you don't know. We worship what we do know because salvation is from the Jews. All right, so he's standing firm, but listen to what he says next. But an hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father and the Spirit and in the truth. The true worshipers. So when he says that, the true worshipers, it's almost like he's saying maybe it's not about all the things that we've been making about this whole time. You ever been there? Oh no, you got to sprinkle. You got to sprinkle. If you don't sprinkle, you're not really saved. Nope. We're going under and we're coming up. I hope you can hold your breath. We ever had that debate before? Maybe it's alcohol. And look, I'm not here to, this is right, I'm just saying these are common debates that maybe it's alcohol, right? Nope, alcohol is bad. It's from the devil. Nothing good from it. You cannot touch it. You can't even think about it. Even, just stay away from anything with the word alcohol in it. And then you got other people over here like, no, Jesus drank wine. He's fine. Let's go. Let's party. It was at a wedding. It was a party. Jesus knew how to throw down, right? So we have these debates all the time. And I'm not saying that they're not important, but what I am saying is it's not the most important thing. And that's what Jesus is trying to clear here. And he's saying, look, this debate has been going on for centuries. No one's going to come up with an answer. No one's going to win, although we know that the Jews are right, all right? But anyway, there is a time, it's here, it's now, where you don't have to worship here, there, or anywhere. You can worship wherever you are, whomever you are, and you can have access to the one true God. And that's what Jesus is telling her. And he says, yes, the Father wants such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth.